of Freilich in Chanukah, we continue learning Dirshu Mishnah Berurah together, slowly chipping away at the gap and catching up to date. We're in the middle of Siman Ayin Vav, and we're up to Sif Vav. Says the Mechaber, Haya lefanav. Excuse me, let's get our highlighter up. There we go. Haya lefanav ma'at soya. You have a little bit of soya in front of you. Yachal levalei baroik. You'll have to put a little bit of spin on top of it and be mevatel and nullify the soya sheyaruk ba v'yikra kenegdoi, and then you're going to be able to read Kriya Shema kenegdoi. Vushia roikov has to be thick spit. Veina bittel mayel. This nullification does not help Ella lefisha momentarily. Avalim lo yikra miyad. If you don't say Shema right away, varuk nimoyach, and the spit dissolves v'nivla ba and absorbs in lo yibetela. So this thick spit is acting as a barrier, is acting to cover over the itzaya, and therefore it's only going to help for the momentary time that the roik is there. So says the Mishnah Berurah Sivkot and Chaf, they're allowed to take ma'at soya. Afilu kolshu, says the Mishnah Berurah, even a little bit. It does not have to be a large quantity. Ke'in shir l'isr soya. Excuse me. Yeah, it's talking about the soya, not the spit. Even a drop of soya is a problem because there's no shear. If someone spits, if someone throws up, even if it's disgusting, you don't have to distance yourself from it. I actually calls to mind the bar mitzvah bacher, nothing to do with his age, but the kid puked over straight right next to me one time in shul, and Baruch Hashem, I was in the middle of davening. We were able to help the kid, but theoretically, let's say you're a few seats over, and someone pukes in front of you, and they're busy dealing with him, and you're not sure. What are you allowed to do? You're allowed to continue your Shemona Esrei and your Kriya Shema Davar Shebekdusha. Haroik of a thick haroik az chashev kisoy is considered covered. But of course, it's only if he doesn't smell, because as we always mention, that's a separate issue. There's the sight, and then there's the smell. Let's say you put water on the tzaya, it doesn't help either. Let's say the water is dirty, because then it will cover it over. You will not see the tzaya. It's not the same thing as putting tzaya behind the glass. Because that's a real cover. But water is not a real cover. A waste bin, someone who has a bucket that he uses the bathroom in, he urinates in, he cannot daven next to that. Or, that's not what it means. I jumped the gun. It just means a bucket of water that you throw into the children's clothing, sheish b'em saya. You have to be careful because it's just regular water, it's not covering up the saya. Therefore, you're not allowed to say Shema opposite it. We continue with Sif Zayin. Says the Mechaber, Sofigim Sayva Bayis, you're not sure. Motzalik Risana say Shema, the Cheskes Bayis in Bayis. And of course, we again remind yourself, this is the world of Radin. Well, actually, this is the world of Svas. This is the Mechaber. That there weren't bathrooms like we have nowadays. Certainly bathrooms like we have. Sofigim Sayva Ba'ashpa, if you're not sure if they say in the garbage. Also, you're not allowed to say Shema. Why? Mishom the Cheskas, because the Chazaka of a garbage is going to be different. Mishom the Cheskas, Ashma Sheish Matzah. Aval Safik Meraglayim Afilu Ba'ashma Motor. If you're not sure if it's Meraglayim, that's all going to be allowed. Mishom the Layasa Taira, Likras Keneged Meraglayim, El Keneged Amud Shal Kiluach. The only time you're not allowed to daven, you're not allowed to learn Keneged Meraglayim is if you're opposite the stream of the urine. V'achash Anafal Loi. And after it falls, loy miser element rabbanon, then it's only din the rabbanon with sveikan loy gazu, because it's only a suffix. We're never going to have this gzeira derabbanon. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sivkot and Chav Beis, you're allowed to read mutter likros. Vehecha de matzah sayavini odei amutza is klavim v'shar beim v'chayo itzay sadum. You don't know what type of tzayah it is. Das like a magin avram dazinu v'zeh basar amatzah. We go with that which is common. Ve'im etzi into nikros. If there's children commonly there, and we point out children without diapers, yoyser miklavim more than dogs. I feel b'bayis is aser. V'odinim chabashma. So to the opposite in the garbage. We're seeing klavim yoyser talina nu miklavim. Lehakel, which now we learn a little bit more, as we're going to see later on. In previous shurim, when we mentioned Tsaya, we said New York's finest, we said a dog, but now we're seeing that animal Tsaya is not the same halachas as human Tsaya. V'davka in Badaka Ashva v'lo matzah shar Tsaya belti zed delav hachi halei aminis tam Ashva chazak sheish b'Tsaya. So the fact that you found dog excrement in an ashba doesn't necessarily say that the entire ashba now is allowed, is considered that there is no tzaya in it. Why? Because as we're seeing right now, that could be that there's the chazak is that there is something in there. The cheskes abayis, but in the house of Kotel Chav Gimel v'Motzisham Kitanim Sarach Livdok, you have to check. The cheskes ashol av chazaka gemura. Chazaka of the garbage is not a full-fledged chazaka dimkein, because therefore I feel miraglayim uaser. Elaratleimer, what does it mean? Shederach li'Motzisham Sayer, it's normal. Al kein aser achi yivdek v'achim atzasi shekein kosa b'levush. It says the Mishnah Berurah that he found that the levush writes the same, that if lamaisa you checked and you found that there is nothing in there, then you're yes allowed to read, even in. Then you're less allowed to, that you have to check the garbage. Sivkot chavei, saving miraglayim. You know there is urine. But you're not sure if there's revius of water. What's revius of water? That's going to be the amount of mavatal the miraglayim. Since it's a chazaka, we're going to have to be machmer even on a din derabanan. If you're going to miss the zman, you're not going to daven at all on the safek yuchal lisvak al habayis afilu b'zaz linu bal kulam milsa derabanan. Oh, but let's say it's by Tzaya, which isn't so simple. That is, you knew there was Tzaya in this topic, but you don't know if it was cleared out. Near the Asa, you have to look into it. Which gives us a bit of a pause in all these halachas of Tzaya is a din de'araisa. Sivkot Chavav says the Mishnah Berurah afilu ba'ashva rotza leimer lachash abatko shalom tzavot. You checked it out, and there is no tzaya. V'gam she'ein magia mimena reachra, and of course it doesn't smell. The garbage itself, it smells is a problem. Which we will get to soon enough. But when it comes to Meiraglayim, the Mechaber taught us it's only opposite the kiluach, the stream, keneged amud. Kasam magid Avram Mishem Arash, the shayis lo chashav neged amud v'shari midaraisa. Guys, like Grachsan, Mafag was at Ayin Sham. And we continue and we conclude Siman I involved with today's shir with the Sif Ches. Says the Mechaber, you're not sure, you said Shema, in a place that was a suffix, in a place that wasn't clear if there was Sayah, and then afterwards you found it. So you have to say Shema again. But if the place is no suffix there, then it goes by the Chazaka. You're not going to have to repeat Shema to Meiraglayim. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Sivkot Chavches, v'makom sharoy, in a place that is common. And again, we point out the fact that there are children nowadays, if the child's wearing a diaper, does not make it similar to what we're learning over here, because it's always going to be inside the diaper. Let's say you found it outside your dalat Aleph, Mishnah Berurah. The carbon of a Rasha is abomination. The Havila lived like a Makim, you were supposed to have checked. And it's obvious. And afterwards you found that your clothing, your shoes were dirty, and the reason you then realized this shoe that was in the bathroom, you're in a place that's full of filth, and that's when your clothing got dirty. And you weren't careful to guard yourself to be clean, then the Sarach Lachzer, the Pasha, why? Because you were negligent. You're in a place that has some cat droppings. And then you get stuck to your clothing. And then you daven in shul. And then you find that there's some cat droppings on your clothing. Because that's similar to a place that's not something that you should have had necessarily to have been misupik, that there might be something on you. Meaning, previously we said if it's a suffix derabanan, you don't say with the brachos. That's when it's a machlaikas. But over here you have to say it again with the brachas. V'gamu adili nitfila. V'embir berach samazin sha'brachas aling monsav kuf behei masha kesavnu Mishnah Berurah sham askenas achronim ben yitzeh. Im geshem tiv laso matzah sayah avar zeman tefila. If when you finish davening and then you find that sayah the zeman tefila already passed, ein mashli b'tila acheres, you don't get tashlumim. Why? This is the klal in all of tashlumim. You were negligent. Ve'ein tashlumim elo b'nenas. We only allow one to have tashlumim to repeat Shemona Esrei if it was an einis. Ein tzarich lachzor sivkat al hamebeis from meir aglayim da'anis ave da'ayim malaleva. There's nothing he could have done. Ein tzarich lachzor sivkat al hamegimel va'afil lechatchila yomot alikros kol ma shleiyeta. If you don't know about a klal siv zayin, avlim noida loy mizeh sheish gam meir aglayim. You know there's meir aglayim. V'aver v'karav el yispal. And then he still went and he said Shema. You daven tzarich lachzor likros yispal. Then if you did it b'mezid, then you have to daven and say Shema again. Da'aver al vadei d'Rabbanan, because in such a case it's true it's a d'Rabbanan, but you're over b'vadei king goes prima god and we'll pick it up from Siman Zayin, the halachas of reading opposite Meraglayim in the next year, B'siyata Dishmaya.